What if everything you've been told about celibacy is backwards? While most people see it as outdated religious restriction, Christianity, Hinduism, and Buddhism have guarded an explosive secret for millennia. Sexual energy is the most potent force in your body, and when redirected correctly, it becomes supernatural power. Ancient monks, yogis, and mystics knew how to transmute this energy into spiritual awakening. What you're about to discover will shatter every assumption you've ever had about sacrifice and self-denial. What hidden force do Hindu yogis channel through celibacy? Let's start where this knowledge goes deepest. In ancient Hindu tradition, there's a concept that changes everything: Brahmacharya. It's not just abstinence, it's mastery over your creative life force. Hindu sages discovered something revolutionary thousands of years ago. The same energy that creates human life can create entire realities when properly harnessed. They call this force Kundalini, a coiled serpent of pure potential sleeping at the base of your spine. And celibacy? That's the key that awakens it. Picture a massive dam holding back an entire reservoir. That contained water generates electromagnetic power capable of lighting up entire cities. But release those floodgates without control, and all that force just dissipates into nothing. That's exactly how Hindu tradition views your sexual energy. When consciously retained, it accumulates at your root chakra, the Muladhara. From there, through specific practices like pranayama breathing and tantric meditation, this energy rises through subtle channels called nadis, activating each chakra along the way until it explodes at the crown of your head. That's the moment of enlightenment, when you completely transcend ordinary human limitations. The sacred Hindu texts are crystal clear. 40 days of pure celibacy begins crystallizing a substance called Ojas in your body. After 6 months, this subtle essence becomes so potent it literally transforms your biology. Your voice gains natural authority, your eyes radiate an unusual light, your skin glows with vitality. But the most dramatic changes happen internally. Your mind becomes razor sharp, capable of penetrating mysteries that once seemed incomprehensible. Your willpower multiplies exponentially. Obstacles that used to paralyze you now seem insignificant. This isn't mystical nonsense, it's ancient bioenergetic alchemy that actually works. Here's the game-changing secret though. In Hinduism, celibacy isn't just about not having sex. It's about consciously redirecting every thought, every desire, every impulse toward a higher purpose. A true Brahmacharya practitioner observes their desires without judging or following them. They recognize desires as waves of energy and choose where that wave breaks, on the shores of momentary pleasure or in the oceans of spiritual realization. This conscious choice, moment by moment, day after day, forges a completely new human being, someone with access to dimensions of power most people never dreamed existed. How do Christian mystics use chastity to access divine states? Now, let's blow your mind with what Christianity has been hiding in plain sight. You think Christian celibacy is just some outdated religious rule? The early Desert Fathers, medieval Catholic monks, Christian mystics like St. John of the Cross knew exactly what they were doing. They understood that chastity was a doorway into altered states of consciousness and direct communion with the divine. St. Paul didn't choose celibacy randomly. He realized this practice unleashed an inner force capable of sustaining impossible missions, unexplainable healings, and superhuman endurance. Christian tradition calls this transformed energy sanctifying grace. It's described as a fire that burns away impurities and elevates the spirit. Contemplative priests report that after years of dedicated chastity, they begin experiencing mystical ecstasies, prophetic visions, and such profound connection with the sacred that the material world completely loses its appeal. Saint Teresa of Avila described states of rapture so intense her body would levitate. Saint Francis of Assisi communicated with animals and nature as if they were one. Coincidence or direct consequence of years channeling sexual energy toward union with the divine? Ancient Christianity taught something that's been forgotten. Your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, and a temple needs to be clean, organized, energetically prepared to receive the sacred. When you practice chastity with spiritual intention, you're literally preparing your body temple for divine manifestations. Energy that once circulated seeking external gratification now circulates internally, purifying organs, balancing hormones, refining your nervous system. Modern scientists are starting to discover what Christian mystics always knew. Sexual abstinence increases testosterone levels, improves cognitive focus, and amplifies creativity dramatically. But don't fool yourself thinking it's easy. Jesus spent 40 days in the desert being tempted. That story is both metaphor and reality simultaneously. When you retain your sexual energy, the first days are hellish. Your body rebels, your mind creates relentless fantasies. Every cell seems to scream for release. This is the critical point where 90% of people quit. But those who cross this desert emerge transformed. Temptation loses its grip. Desire quiets down, and a new kind of peace, deep and unshakable, takes over your entire being. That's the promise of Christian celibacy, not denial of life, but elevation to a higher plane of existence. Why do Buddhist monks guard the secret of vital energy? Buddhism approaches this from yet another angle that completes the picture. In Buddhist tradition, celibacy isn't punishment or martyrdom. It's called Brahmacharya, meaning literally divine conduct. Buddhist monks believe sexual energy is the most powerful force dwelling within us. When you don't disperse it through physical acts, that energy transmutes. It rises up the spine, activates dormant energy centers, and expands your consciousness in unimaginable ways. Watch a Tibetan monk meditating in silence. That serenity isn't passivity, it's concentrated power. According to Buddhist teachings, every time you retain this vital energy, you're feeding what they call the light body. We're not talking abstract theory here. We're talking about a millennia-old practice that produced enlightened masters capable of controlling mind, body, and emotions with absolute mastery. Buddhist celibacy doesn't deny desire. It recognizes desire as sacred fuel. The more intense your internal fire, the greater your potential for transformation. Now breathe deep and feel this. How many times have you wasted your own vital energy without even realizing it? In Buddhism, this energy is called Ojas when it reaches its purest, most refined state. It's the essence that sustains vitality, mental clarity, and personal magnetism. Buddhist masters teach that 3 years of conscious celibacy can completely transform your energetic structure. Your aura expands, your intuition sharpens, your presence becomes magnetic. People around you start sensing something different about you, even without understanding what it is. This is the secret few know and even fewer practice. But critical warning. We're not talking about repression. That's the trap that destroys everything. Buddhist celibacy requires deep meditation, mental discipline, and specific breathing practices to channel this energy properly. Without these tools, repressed energy transforms into frustration, anger, and imbalance. That's why monks dedicate hours daily to consciously cultivating this force. They don't just retain, they transmute. And this transmutation is what separates spiritual power from simple abstinence. Are you starting to grasp the magnitude of this? If this content is transforming your perspective on spirituality, drop your like right now. And in the comments, type the word transmute. If you feel ready to channel your vital energy toward a greater purpose, subscribe to the channel because there's so much more revelation coming your way. How Christianity, Buddhism, and Hinduism all discovered the same truth. Step back and look at the complete picture now. 3 massive spiritual traditions, born on different continents, in different eras, with no direct contact between them in their origins, all reached exactly the same conclusion. Your sexual energy is a dimensional portal. Isn't that mind-blowing? Buddhism calls it Ojas and Brahmacharya. Hinduism speaks of Kundalini and Shakti. Christianity names it sanctifying grace and temple purification. Different names, identical essence. All these traditions understood there's a spiritual technology based on conscious retention and transmutation of the most powerful vital force we carry. Think about this. Why would such diverse cultures protect this teaching so fiercely? Because it works. Because when practiced correctly, celibacy unlocks latent capacities in human beings. Telepathy, sharpened intuition, accelerated healing, amplified physical resistance, crystalline mental clarity. These aren't superstitions from primitive peoples. These are consistent reports spanning millennia of serious spiritual practice. From yogis in Himalayan caves to monks on Mount Athos, passing through Buddhist contemplatives in Tibet, all confirm this practice radically transforms who you are. Here's the crucial point nobody tells you though. Celibacy isn't for everyone, and it doesn't need to be permanent. What these traditions truly teach is conscious mastery over your creative energy. You can practice strategic retention periods to achieve specific goals. 40 days to clear your mind and make an important decision. 3 months to overcome addiction or destructive patterns. 1 year to awaken dormant spiritual capacities. It's not about denying your humanity. It's about mastering your internal forces and consciously deciding where they flow. All three traditions agree on another vital point. Without daily spiritual practice, celibacy becomes a ticking time bomb. You need meditation to direct accumulated energy. You need prayer or mantras to elevate the frequency of this force. You need service to others to productively channel the power being generated. A solitary practitioner without these tools can develop spiritual arrogance, mental sexual obsession, or severe emotional imbalances. That's why all serious spiritual paths combine celibacy with complementary disciplines. It's a complete transformation package, not an isolated item. You made it this far because something inside you recognizes this truth. Your soul knows there's more, so much more. Conscious celibacy, whether for days, months, or years, is an invitation to discover versions of yourself you never imagined existed. If this video awakened something deep within you, leave your like, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and in the comments write awakening if you're ready to explore higher dimensions of your existence. Subscribe and hit the notification bell, because this journey through sacred mysteries is only beginning. Your transformation is waiting for you.